In our last video, I left you at the Lone Pine Campground. Today, we're going to go out to Death Valley and explore this beautiful national park. When heading into Death Valley from the west, there's this gap. I think they call it like the Death Star Trench or something like that. And it's an area where they used to fly fighter jets through, but in 2019, they had an accident, so they stopped flying the jets. This is called the Father Crowley Vista Point. So we headed from the west, from Lone Pine into Death Valley. It took about an hour and a half or so to get to this area. And it's about another hour to get to the actual main visitor center. This is our first time visiting Death Valley, so we're just going to go around and scout it out today and see as many things as we can see. Just a note on the drive, to get into here, it was to like 5,000 to 6,000 foot elevation gains and then down. So be very careful if you want to take a large vehicle or a vehicle without good brakes, and especially avoid this in the summer. Our first major stop is the Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes. It's kind of a cool area, and it feels weird to see a beach just inland, but this whole area used to be completely submerged under the ocean. So my goal in this area was just to find a lizard or see some kind of wildlife out here. And when we were looking around, we got lucky and got to see this little guy. Our next stop was the Harmony Borax Works. Was a great stop. It had a lot of equipment that was over 100 years old, and you could walk around it, and I just can't imagine being one of those people that lived out here and worked on this thing. So I'm just guessing there are probably two main jobs. Somebody that went out into the fields and collected whatever the material is, and then the other people would keep the furnace going. I don't know which would be a worse job. And this is also a good stop if you bring your dog. We brought Dobby with us, so he enjoyed this little walk around. We went at the end of April, so it wasn't horrible, but I would say anytime during the summer, it would be just absolutely too hot. And we got to the main visitor center, which is the Furnace Creek Visitor Center, and it was 99 degrees. They got a cool little visitor center. Definitely check it out. And next to the visitor center, they have a pretty decent campground. I would assume this campground is only open, during the non-summer part of the year. But there were a lot of full hookup sites in here and some boondocking sites. And it was a really nice looking campground. Here's an example of one of the sites at 50 amp pedestal, water, and sewer. I was kind of shocked. I was expecting it strictly to be electric. And I imagine people with kids staying here in the winter, the kids are probably running through this area. So I'm guessing this full hookup campground only goes through maybe the beginning of or middle of April. If you look into the distance, there was a bunch of RVs that were at the other area. And I think this is probably maybe more of a long-term area that probably doesn't have the full hookups. So this is definitely a pretty campground and a place to stay if you're in Death Valley and it's open. Next, we headed to the Devil's Golf Course, which is probably the most unique location that I've ever seen. Very cool, just structures on the ground. Has an otherworldly feel to it. It definitely looks like the bottom of an ocean. This is the Salt Flats, which is maybe the most popular stop that we had. It was completely packed. The thing that draws people here is that it's about 250 feet below sea level. And there's some kind of structures that you can go out and see that I didn't go all the way out there, went out far enough, looked around, came back. The really cool thing was seeing the sea level sign on the side of the hill. Our final stop was the Artist Drive, which has the Artist Palette. It's a single direction road. I wouldn't recommend you drive your big rig down this road. There's one area where it's very kind of tight and kind of zigzags. The Artist Drive is worthwhile drive. I think the Artist Palette maybe shows different colors, like with the sun rising or sun setting. The time of day we came, it kind of all blended together. But it was still a very beautiful view. So we left the 100-degree weather in Death Valley and headed back to Lone Pine Campground. And it was probably in the 40s, maybe 50 degrees with snow in the mountains. Bye from Lone Pine. The next time I'll take you on the campground hike.